Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the library. I hope you're all bracing yourself for a tirade of frustration, anger, and hatred towards the author of Beowulf. I remember the first time we read this, the first half, I suppose. I was an angry boy. I keep doing this with my eyes. I'm looking at my camera now. I'm looking at my model. This is what happens. So it's my eyes, so I'm going to recalibrate that. That is distracting, even though I will not see that for the entire thing. Thanks for the alert, Sunflower. Let's see, calibrating time. Go here, I look there. Now I calibrate, there we go. This is roughly where I'm going to look whilst I read. Jesus, Valana. 60 stream streak. You know, you're going to lose it one day, right? It's going to be unavoidable. There's going to be one time where that's lost, and you're going to break that streak, and it's going to be heartbreaking. Hot damn. You'll be extremely sad. You will have to give you a hug or something. Maybe a cookie. It will not be my fault. What do you like? Oh, Valana's not here. I should not stream. My stream schedule is now beholden to the presence of my wife to account for her streak. Or are you just gonna blame me for not putting it on like the tablet, the tablet, maybe perhaps. Oh, Gravy Pockets, thank you for the follow, friend. Right, we haven't gone to the reading stream yet. That makes sense why that's audible. Oh, we'll get there soon. I learned today that the latest curse upon the internet delivered to us by Gen AI, courtesy of the rich billionaires, is now a bunch of services out there, which might appear very innocuous to people who are perfectly fine using these things. Note takers, little tools that might help you join voice or video conferences, webinars. Specifically is how this came across my desk today at work. There are a number of browser extensions that will now simply record any webinar or video conference you happen to be attending and post it online for free to the public for the consumption of all. And then later on let you know that they've done this with or without your consent. Let's just cross out the with part. They don't ask, so it's always without consent. You probably give consent during, the small print, the click here to accept our terms nonsense. And this is kind of problematic. It's not a good thing for, well, first of all, anyone. But it can be extraordinary problematic if you are any kind of person who deals with like sensitive information during these meetings. Think like unions or high-level business team strategy meetings and all kind of jazz. I wave my hands. See jazz hands. Can you see them? All that kind of stuff can be very problematic. So be aware that there are some browser extensions out there that can do this. If you have to join one of these things like Zoom or Teams, for example, don't use the browser version. Use the application, even if it's perhaps a little annoying. If you have any kind of need to protect what you're talking about, it's very important that you do not use the browser version. There are a list of extensions. I don't remember what they are, like note takers, stuff like that. AI note takers. Google Auto Meet is one of them, which is, a third-party extension despite having the word Google in it, apparently. So things to keep in mind, bear in mind for, protect yourselves, people. Because networking security literally can't. One of the frustrating things, like some people join our meetings, they're at home, for example. So I can't protect their traffic across university networking because they're not on a university network. They join with the computer, and some of them opt to use personal computers. So service desk can't control the machine that they're connecting from. So they can't say, hey, we have a bunch of university computers, laptops, that kind of jazz, which we take very, very strict control of. You can't install your own stuff. And this is one of the reasons why. Only now, of course, it's impossible to control and protect people from it. People from it, all we can do is like block as much as we can, and then rely on awareness campaigns and stuff like that. It's a little dicey, but you know, we can't just like control your personal products, your personal computers and phones and stuff. That'd be absolutely far too invasive from our own part. But yeah, so everyone plays a part in your cybersecurity, and that includes you. Otherwise, like, it's a pretty chill day. I started the day with an empty calendar, thinking to myself like, wow, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna fill something in. I can start, a project. I can do a little bit of perhaps research. I can advance something that I was planning on doing later. I can pull that forward, but not to worry, everybody. Work had me covered. Within a few minutes after our stand-up meeting, our little sort of get-together meeting in the morning, well, let's say half an hour, my calendar day filled up. Fear not, there is work to be done, whether you want it or expect it or not. Yeah, so, but it was all good. But I want to finish this story, so why don't we bounce right over? We can begin the conclusion, hopefully, the last half I desperately desire, of Beowulf. The story of Beowulf, even if we are to read the whole title on this book cover. See, we concluded last time at chapter 28, according to my recording, the posted video that is scheduled to go live on the 5th up on YouTube. I put chapter markers in there, and there's like 28 of them. 27? Oh, the one counts, yeah. Sorry, math, counting hard. And so we begin today with, what's that, chapter 29, if I'm reading Roman numerals correctly. Till the day on which they risked their own and their comrades' lives in the battle. And sorry, no, I don't remember the context for this. I had a lot of trouble with the context in the past. Beowulf has gone through two major life events, as I just completely derailed the story for after the first sentence. He's gone through his first, he defeated Grendel, and then he defeated Grendel's mother. And I believe he's gone back home now, right? He sailed home after helping Hrothgar. And now he has all these treasures and gold and stuff and men and stuff, and I don't remember what they're doing at home. Drinking and stuff, I presume. Anyway, sorry, let me continue from there. Till the day on which they risked their own and their comrades' lives in the battle. Then said an old spear warrior who remembered all that had happened, the death of men by spears. His mind was grim. And he began with sorrowful mind to seek out the thought of the young champion by broodings of the heart, and to awaken the war bales. And this is what he said. He said he has to put his phone on Do Not Disturb. He did so, and his phone was non-disturby. Canst thou reorganize, my friend, the dire sword which thy father carried to the battle under the visored helm on that last journey, when the Danes slew him and had the battlefield in their power? When Withergild lay dead after the fall of the heroes? Now here the son of I know not which of the slayers, all boasting of treasures, goeth into the hall, and boasteth of murder, and carrieth the gift which thou shouldest rightly possess. This whole book smacks of a high schooler told to write a creative story and have at least a minimum number of words, and they found out that they had to add extra ones. Then he extorteth and bringeth to mind each of the occasions with sorrowful words, until the time cometh that the thane of the bride dieth, all stained with blood for the deeds of his father by the piercing of the sword, having forfeited his life. Yep, this is like the epic example of padding. I found a use for this book. I just thought of it. This is a great way to punish children who overstuff, who like fluff up their essays, right? If you do that, if you add extra words that you don't need, you have to read Beowulf. Yeah, I know it's harsh, it's a bit over the top, but I think, you know, once and one and done, they'll never make that mistake again in their life if they think they're going to have to read this over again, especially out loud in front of the class. But the other thence escapeth alive, for he knows the land well. Then the oath swearing of earls is broken on both sides, when deadly enmities surge up against Ingeld, and his love for his wife grows cooler after a whelming care. And for this reason I reckon not sincere the friendliness of the Heathobards towards the Danes, or the troop peace between them that plighteth troth. I guess Heathobards is a name. The first few times we read that seems like cruel and yeah, it is a little cruel and unusual, but you know, spare the band-aid or something, I think is how that works. The Heathobards is obviously a family name now. The first few times I read that, my brain's like, oh, bards, they must be like entertainers. That's just a weird way to say bards. Oh god, now I have a wall of text. That was a paragraph. We have one more wall of text. Now, I speak out again about Grendel, for that thou knowest full well, O giver of treasure, how went that hand-to-hand fight of the heroes, when the jewel of heaven glided over the world, then the angry sprite, the terrible and evening fierce foe, came to visit us, where we dwelling in the hall all safe and sound, where we were dwelling in the hall all safe and sound. There was battle impending in Hunskio, the life bale to the doomed one. And he first fell, the champion begirt. For Grendel was to the famous thane a banesman of biting, and devoured whole the dear man. Nor would he, the bloody-toothed slayer, mindful of bales, go out empty-handed any sooner again, forth from the gold hall. But he proved my strength of main, and ready-handed he grasped at me. An ample and wondrous glove hung fast by cunning hands, and it was cunningly fashioned by the craft of devils, and with skins of the dragon. And the fierce doer of deeds was wishful to put me therein, one among many. But he could not do so, for I angrily stood upright. He angrily stood up, showed him, and too long would it be to tell how I requited all evil to that scather of people, where I, O my liege lord, honored thy people by names of good deeds. He escaped on the way, and for a little while he enjoyed life pleasures. I mean, it's like pleasure being alive, I suppose. But his right hand showed his tracks in heart, and he sank to the bottom of the sea, all abject and sad of heart. And the lord of the Danes rewarded me for that battle rush with many a piece of plated gold, and with ample treasure, when morning came and we had set ourselves down to the feasting. You really get the feeling that, like, treasure is really important to these people, like, more so than anything else. And there was singing, well, possibly honor, but you do honorable things for treasure, is my interpretation here. And there was singing and rejoicing, and the wise man of the Danes, who had learned many things, told us of the olden days. and the bold in battle sometimes touched the harp strings. The wood was the wood that was full of music, and sometimes he gave forth a song that was true and sad, and sometimes large-hearted. The king related a wondrous spell well and truly. And sometimes the old man, encumbered by years, some ancient warrior, lamented his lost youth and strength in battle. His heart was tumultuous when he of many winters recalled all the number of them. So we rejoiced the livelong day until another night came down upon men. Then was the mother of Grendel quickly ready for vengeance, and came on a woeful journey, for death had carried off her son, that war-hate of the Geats. And the uncanny wife avenged her child. And Asherich, no. How did Red say it's not Asherich. That's like freaking Vecna lore. Okay, you know what we're doing, right? We're going to be copy-pasting this into YouTube. How do you pronounce this? The wrong one. Oh, it's the wrong one. It's another long one. That's again an error. We have all these guides that I've opened up. Like literally, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm opening up a 7th YouTube page for pronouncing a word. Just for this book. Pronunciation. Content isn't available. Try again later. That's a tough word. Okay. Ashera. According to YouTube. And Ashera, that wise... Oh, sorry, I scrolled and lost my voice. And Ashera, that wise and ancient counselor, departed this life. I'm so glad I put so much effort into pronouncing their name. Nor when morning came might the Danish people burn him with brand, that death-weary man, nor lay the beloved man on the funeral pyre. For she bore away the body in her fiendish grip under the mountain streams. And that was Hrothgar, the bitterest of griefs, which for long had befallen the prince of the people. Then the prince, sad in mood, by thy life entreated me that I should go a deed, worthy of an earl, midst a welter of waters, and risk my life and achieve glory. And he promised me rewards. I then discovered the grim and terrible guardian of the whelming waters at the sea's bottom, so widely talked of. There was a hand-to-hand engagement between us for a while, and the sea boiled with gore. I cut off the head of Grendel's mother in the hall at the bottom of the sea with powerful sword. And I scarce saved my life in that conflict. But not yet was my doomsday. And afterwards the Prince of Earls gave me many gifts, he, the son of Halfdeni. Halfdeni, that's what, yeah, I remember that one, it's Halfdeni. This is kind of interesting. They comment on about earls, and I'm guessing that's kind of just like, I'm going to say well-to-do warriors, this like the warrior caste who happen to be ruling. And my brain's like, you have multiple earls, and Beowulf is doing a deed worthy of an earl. Why aren't all these earls doing this deed? Isn't this deed beyond worthy of an earl? Right, rather an earl is not worthy of this deed, not capable. Yes. God, that's gotta be 30, because you're just 29, yeah, Roman numerals. I don't normally count this high. Chapter 31. So, in good customs lived the king of the people. Nor had I lost the rewards, the meed of strength, for the son of Halfdeni bestowed upon me treasures according to my choice, which I will bring to thee, O my warrior king, and graciously will I proffer them. Because no one is as cool as Beowulf. Yeah, I guess that's the ultimate answer is no one was as cool as Beowulf. It wouldn't be a story about Beowulf if he wasn't the one who did this deed worthy of earls. Again, all favor depends on thee, for few chief kinsmen have I save thee. Oh, right. With the G is there, Hiliac. Yeah, save thee, O Hiliac. Now, Hiliac was his father, or just kinsman? There's like two people I think are his dad. Whatever. He commanded them to bring in the boar, the head sign, the battle-steep helmet, the hoary Byrne, the splendid war sword, and then he chanted this song. It was Hrothgar, that proud prince, who bestowed upon me all this battle gear, and a certain word he uttered to me, that I should first give thee his kindly greeting. He said that Hrothgar, the king of the Danes, possessed it a long while, nor formerly would he be giving the breastweeds to his son, the brave Heroward. Oh dear. Fuck you, Vikings. Heroward. Anyways, yes. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm gonna do this one too. Just listen to the background music. It's fun. Don't regret it. Don't see mentions. This content is not available until you refresh those video. Meeriart. Wait a minute. Is that? No. This is not. Is that? No, that's not. Wait. Okay, stop. No, you're doing. Okay, go back over there. Okay, do this again because that was not the word. Nope. I don't have this word. Although I suspect the W might be just a different spelling. Like this one is using a G. I'm gonna cancel. Herogard. I don't know if I care about this enough to cancel. Heroward. So the book is a W. YouTube is a G. Is Heroward or Herogard, depending on who you listen to, I guess. I'm going to use Heroward because that's what the book says, and that's how I would pronounce it in pseudo-English, I suppose. Yeah. Where were we then? Oh yes, nor formerly would he be giving the breastweeds to his son, the brave Herogard. Okay, I guess I'm using G. Though dear he was to him. Do thou enjoy all well? Sorry, that wasn't a question. Do thou enjoy all well? That's a statement. It sounds like it should be a question, but it clearly is not. There's no question mark. Then I heard that 4 horses of reddish yellow hue followed the armor, and thus he did honor with horses and gifts. So should a kinsman do. By no means should they weave cunning nets for each other, or with secret craft devise death to a comrade, or perhaps to anyone. His nephew was very gracious to Hiliac. Yes, the brave in strife, and each was striving to bestow favors on the other. And I heard that he gave to this is now a 4-letter word. Higd. Hid. We're going to call it hid and pretend the G is silent. And I heard that he gave to Hid the neck ring so curiously and wondrously wrought, which wilt thou? No. A daughter of royal birth had given him. Some daughter of royal birth had given him the 3 horses, also slender and saddle bright, and her breast was adorned with the ring she had received. So that's like a total of 7 horses now? It was 4 and then 3? And Beowulf, son of XXXII. So yeah, XXXII must be the father, and XXXIII is just kinsman. Some other relationship, perhaps uncle, grandfather. So famous in warfare and in good deeds, bore him boldly and fulfilled his fate. Nor did he slay the drunken hearth comrades. Where would you slay them? He was not sad-minded, but he, the battle dear one, by the greatest of craft known to man, held fast the lasting and generous gift which God gave him. For long had he been despised, so that the warriors of the Geats looked not upon him as a good man, nor did the lord of troops esteem him as of much worth on the mead bench. Besides, they thought him slack and by no means a warlike atheling. Then came a change from all his distresses to this glorious man. Then the Prince of Earls, the battle-brave king, commanded that the heirloom of Hrethel, all decked out in gold, should be brought in. For of swords there was no more glorious treasure among the Geats, and he laid it on the bosom of Beowulf, and gave him 7,000 men and a building and a throne. And both of them held the land, the earth, the rights in the land as hereditary possession. But the other, who was the better man, had more especially a wide kingdom. Gave him a kingdom, and just an arbitrary 7,000 people, or men specifically. And in the after days it happened that there were battle crashings, and XXXIII lay dead, and swords and shields became a deathbane to Herodred. It's actually easier to pronounce, and I assume it wrong. When the brave battle wolves, the Swedes, sought him out, and among the victorious ones, and assailed with strife the nephew of Heric. And it was then that the broad kingdom came into the possession of Beowulf. And he held sway therein 50 winters, and a wise king was he, that old guardian of his country, until on dark nights a dragon began to make raids, that he watched over the horde in the lofty cavern with a steep rocky cave. Oh, this is like copyright against Disney or something. And the path thereto lay under the cliffs unknown to men. And what man it was who went therein, I know not, which makes sense because no man knew about it. But he took from the heathen horde a hall bowl decked with treasure, nor did he give it back again. I stole this thing from you. You can just have it back now. Or thinking, what? No. It's no. Lord of the Rings is clearly in violation of copyright. That's right. Oh, they don't own. Disney doesn't own them yet. Why did I think that? Probably because Disney is buying everything, or has. I thought it just bought everything by now. Where the hell am I? Nor did he give it back again, though he had beguiled the guardian of the horde when he was sleeping, by the craft of a thief, and Beowulf found out that the dragon was angry. Lana and I watched a sort of summary of Beowulf. What's her channel called, Valana? I know we call her Red. She does a bunch of literary reviews and stuff like that. She has a friend named Blue who does like reviews in history, but she did like a review or an analysis of Beowulf, and like it's sort of amongst other things, compounded on overly sarcastic productions, it sort of added to the things that we're discovering here, where Beowulf is really inspiration to a lot of other sort of popular culture stories that we have in media. Like right here, obviously we have the story of the Hobbit. We've seen the Wolfgar, which has shown up in a few other places, and yeah, it's kind of interesting to kind of see this come out. Any old how, we're up to chapter 32. And it was by no means of his own accord, or self-will, that he sought out the craft of the horde of the dragon who inflicted such evil upon himself, but rather because being compelled by miseries, the slave fled the hateful blows of heroes. He that was shelterless, and the man troubled by guilt, penetrated therein. And soon it came to pass that an awful terror arose upon the guest. And in the earth house were all kinds of ancient treasures, such as I know not what man of great thoughts had hidden there in days of old, the immense heirlooms of some noble race, costly treasures. And in former times death had taken them all away, and he alone of the warriors of the people who longest lingered there, full lonely and sad for loss of friends was he, and he hoped for a tarrying, that he built, that he but for a while might enjoy the ancient treasures. And this hill was quite near to the ocean waves, and to the sea nesses, right? The sea nesses, which are just outcroppings into the ocean that we learned previously. And no one could come near hitherto, or thereto, near thereto. And he, the guardian of the rings, carried inside the cave the heavy treasures of plated gold, and uttered some few words. Do thou, old earth, hold fast the treasures of earls which heroes may not hold. What? From thee in days of yore good men obtained it? Deadly warfare and terrible life bale carried away all the men of my people, of those who gave up life. They had seen Halljoy, and they saw the joys of heaven. I have not any one who can carry a sword, or polish the gold-plated cup, the dear drinking flagon. The doughty ones have hastened elsewhere. The hard helmet dight with gold shall be deprived of gold plate. The polishers sleep the sleep of death, who should make ready the battle grim. Likewise, the coat of mail which endured in the battle was shattered over shields by the bite of the iron spears, and perishes after the death of the warrior. Nor can the ringed... We're going to find out what a Byrni is. Byrni. Definition. It's a coat of mail. It's just a coat of mail. It's chain mail. Here. There, problem solved. I've been wondering about that for 2 streams now. Nor can the ringed Byrni go far and wide on behalf of heroes after the passing of the war chief. No joy of harping is there, nor mirth of stringed instruments, nor does the goodly hawk swing through the hall, nor doth the swift horse paw in the courtyard. The death bale hath sent away many generations of men. Thus then, sad at heart he lamented his sorrowful plight, one for many, and unblithely he wept both day and night until the whelming waters of death touched his heart. That sounds like depression. And the ancient twilight scather found the joyous treasure standing open and unprotected. He it was who flaming seeks the cliffsides, he, the naked and hateful dragon who flieth by night wrapped about with fire. And the dwellers upon earth greatly fear him. And he should be seeking the hoard upon earth, where old in winters he guardeth the heathen gold, nor aught is he the better thereby. Nor aught is he the better than everybody. I think the dragon probably thinks he's better. And thus the scather of the people, the mighty monster, the scather, I suppose, the scather of the people, the mighty monster, had in his power the whole of the horde 300 years upon the earth, until a man in anger kindled his fury. For he carried off to his liege lord the plated drinking flagon, and offered his master a treaty of peace. Thus was the horde discovered, the hoard of rings plundered, and a boon was granted to the miserable man. And the Lord saw for the first time this ancient work of men. Then awoke the dragon, and the strife was renewed. He sniffed at the stone, and the stout-hearted saw the footmark of his foe. He had stepped too far forth with cunning craft near the head of the dragon. So may anyone who is undoomed easily escape woes and exile, who rejoices in the favor of the wielder of the world. No idea what that sentence means. The guardian of the horde along the ground was eagerly seeking, and the man would be finding who had deprived him of his treasure while he was sleeping. Hotly and fiercely he went around, all on the outside of the barrow, but no man was there in the waste. Still, he gloried in the strife and the battle working. Sometimes he returned to the cavern and sought the treasure vessels, and soon he found one of the men had searched out the gold, the high heap of treasures. The guardian of the hoard was sorrowfully waiting until evening should come, and very furious was the keeper of that burrow, and the loathsome one would fain be requiting the robbery of that dear drinking stoop with fire and flame. Then, as the dragon wished, day was departing. Not any longer would he wait within the walls, but went forth girt with baleful fire. And terrible was this beginning to the people in that country, and sorrowful would be the ending to their lord, the giver of treasure. He replaced by the taker of treasure. Chapter 32. Then the fiend began to belch forth fire, and to burn up the glorious palace, and the flames thereof were a horror to men, nor would the loathly air flyer leave aught living thereabouts. And this warfare of the dragon was seen far and wide by men, this striving of the foe who caused dire distress, and how the war scather hated and harmed the people of the XXXIX. And he hurried back to his hoard, and the dark cave hall of which he was lord, ere it was day drawn. He had encircled the dwellers in that land with fire and brand. He trusted in his cavern, and in battle and his cliff wall, but his hope deceived him. Then was the terror made known to Beowulf, quickly and soothly, namely that his very homestead, that best of houses, that throne of the XXXIX, was dissolving in the whelming fire. And full rueful was to the good man, and the very greatest of sorrows. And the wise man was thinking that he had bitterly angered the wielder of all things, the eternal God, in the matter of some ancient customs, and within his breast gloomy brooding was welling, as was by no means his wont. The fiery dragon had destroyed by flame the stronghold of the people, both the seaboard and neighboring land, and therefore the king of the wetter XXXIX devised revenge upon him. So he thinks he offended the dragon, and his response is therefore to get revenge upon the dragon for responding to being offended. Makes sense. This is how peace is acquired normally in the real world. Just kill until everyone's dead. Now Beowulf, the prince of earls and protector of warriors, commanded them to fashion him a glorious war shield all made of iron. So as we know, if you're going up against fire, you want to hold on to your arm something that conducts heat very well. For he well knew that a wooden shield would be unavailing against flames, unless you, make it fire retardant, I guess. For he, the The age-long noble atheling must await the end of the days that were fleeting of this world life, and he and the dragon together, though long he had held sway over the hoard of treasure. And the Prince of Rings scorned to employ a troop against the wide-flying monster in the great warfare. Nor did he dread the striving, nor did he think much of this battle with the dragon, of this might and courage, for that formerly in close conflict had he escaped many a time from the crashings of battle, since he, the victorious swordman, cleansed the great hall and heart of Hrothgar his kinsman, and had grappled in the contest with his mother of Grendel, the loathly kin. That's right. I'm too cool to be afraid of the dragon. Nor was that the least hand-to-hand fight. When Heliac was slain there in the Frisian land, when the king of the Geats, the friendly lord of the folk, the son of Hrethel, died in the battle rush, beaten down by the sword, drunk with blood drinking. Then fled Beowulf by his very own craft and swam through the seas. And he had on his arm alone 30 battle trappings when he went down to the sea, nor did the Hetwer need to be boasting of that battle on foot. They who bore the linden shields against them, and few of them ever reached their homes safe from that wolf of the battle. What was that? He went down to the sea, he carried a lot of stuff on his arm, and then people couldn't go home because they died in battle with him? Like, was there suddenly a fight? Had on his arm alone 30 battle trappings. When he went down to the sea, nor did Hetwer need to be boasting. Who is Hetwer? And what is he boasting of? Of that battle on foot. They who bore their linden shields against them. Nor did Hetwer need to be boasting of that battle on foot. They who bore their linden shields against them. Nor did Hetwer need to be boasting. Wow, that doesn't make sense. And few of them ever reached their homes safe from that wolf of the battle. If that's something to brag about. Okay, well, sure. But Beowulf, son of Ecgtheow, swam over the expanse of waters, miserable and solitary, back to his people, where Hid proffered him treasures and a kingdom, rings and dominion. She did not think that her son, we literally just learned this word, Heardred, that's enough, would know how to hold their native seats against strangers, now that Heliac was dead. Nor could the wretched people prevail upon the atheling, Beowulf, in any wise to show himself lord of Heardred, or to be choosing the kingship. Nevertheless, he gave friendly counsel to the folk with grace and honor, until that he, Heardred, was older and held sway over the Wedder Geats. Then those exiles, the sons of Otheri, sought him over the seas. They had rebelled against the lord of the Swedes, the best of the sea kings, that famous chieftain of those who bestowed rings in Sweden. And that was life's limit to him. For the son of Heliac, famishing there was allotted a deadly wound by the swing of a sword. And the son of Angethau, went away thence to visit his homestead when Heardred lay dead, and left Beowulf to sit on the throne and to rule the Goths, and he was a good king. There was a dragon, there was much fighting. Beowulf became king, angry, dragon still angry. Right? Chapter 34. He was minded in after days to be requiting the fall of the prince. He was a friend to the wretched Eadgils, and helped Eadgils, the son of Othere, literally, there, with an army, with warriors, and with weapons over the wide seas. And then he wrought vengeance with cold and painful journeyings, and deprived the king, Onela, of life, whoever Onela is. Could be one law. Thus the son of XXXII had escaped all the malice and the hurtful contests and the courageous encounters, until the day on which he was to wage war with the dragon. And so it came to pass that the lord of the Geats went forth with 12 others, and inflamed with fury, to spy out the dragon. For he had heard tell of the malice and hatred he had shown to men, whence arose that feud. And by the hand of the informer, famous treasure came into their possession. He was the 13th man in the troop who set foot on the beginning of the conflict, and the sorrowful captive must show the way thither. He, against his will, went to the earth hall, for he alone knew the burrow under the ground near to the sea surge, where it was seething. The cavern that was full of ornaments and filigree. Oh, sorry, that was a whole sentence. And the uncanny guardian thereof, the panting werewolf, held possession of the treasures, and an ancient was he under the earth, and it was no easy bargain to be gaining for any living man. The werewolf is a dragon? They called the dragon a werewolf, I guess. Maybe. Unless there's just also suddenly a werewolf. So the battle-hardened king sat down on the cliff and took leave of his hearth comrades. He, the gold fiend, the gold friend of the Geats. That was just Beowulf sat down. That whole sentence is Beowulf sat down, and his heart was sad, wavering, and ready for death. And Weird came very near him, who would be greeting the venerable warrior, and be seeking his soul treasure, to divide asunder his life from his body. Oh, hello, Neff. Welcome in, friend. Thank you for the lurk. And not long after that was the soul of the Eighthling imprisoned in the flesh. Didn't he kind of come that way? Beowulf spake, the son of XXXII, in case we had forgotten from 10 seconds ago. Many a war rush I escaped from in my youth, in times of conflict, and well I call it all to mind. I was 7 years old when the Lord of Treasures, the friendly lord of the folk, took me away from my father, and King Hrethel had me in thrall, and gave me treasure, and feasted me, and kept the peace. Nor was I a whit less dear a child to him than any of his own kin. Heribald and, oh dear, Haethcyn, or my own dear, wait a minute, Hyliak. So Hyliak was a brother, perhaps, or brother-like, I guess. Okay. And who's now dead, who was king before Beowulf, because Beowulf's king. And for the eldest was a murder bed most unhappily made up by the deeds of a kinsman. When Haethcyn, his lordly friend, brought him low with an arrow from out his hornbow, and missing the mark, he shot through his brother with a bloody javelin. And that was a fight not to be atoned for by gifts of money, and a crime it was, and wearying to the soul in his breast. Yeah, except other murders are like settled with money gifts. Okay. Nevertheless, the Eighthling must unavenged be losing his life. For so is it a sorrowful thing for a venerable man to see his son riding the gallows tree, when he singeth a dirge, a sorrowful song, as his son hangeth, a joy to the ravens, and he, very old, may not give him any help. And every morning at the feasting he is reminded of his son's journey elsewhither, and he careth not to await another heir within the cities, when he alone, through the fatality of death, hath found out the deeds. But family killing can't be, for you would be paying yourself. I guess, but you'd be paying someone else in the family, really? Like, if you just killed someone and that just offended you, then like, is murder really a crime in this culture? I don't think so. Like some murders, depending on who the ruler is, I suppose. Heartbroken, he looks in the bower of his son, on the wasted wine hall, become the hiding place for the winds and bereft of the revels. The riders are sleeping, the heroes in the tomb, nor is any sound of harping or games in the courts as erewhile there were. Yes, war and honorable fighting is fine, murder is not. Yeah, we hate it when we murder one person, but if we do it to a lot of people, it's fine. Chapter 35. Then he goeth to the sleeping palace and chanteth his sorrow song, the one for the other. And all too spacious seemed to him the fields and the dwelling house. So the prince of the Geats bore welling heart sorrow after Heribald's death. Nor a whit could he requite the feud on the murderer, nor visit his hate on that warrior with loathly deeds, though by no means was he dear to him. He then forsook the joys of life because of that sorrow wound which befell him, and chose the light of God, and left to his sons land and towns when he departed his life as a rich man doth. Then was there strife and struggle between the Swedes and the Geats, and over the wide seas there was warfare between them, a hardy battle striving when Hrethel met with his death, and the children of Onthgau this is one of those names, Ungethau, which is how we're going to leave that, were brave and battle fierce, and would not keep the peace on the high seas, but round the Horosenaborg. I love that word. Horosenaborg. It reminds me of snorkels. I want to know what the hell this is. There are way too many tabs open in my browser right now. There's like literally 3 links that comes up when I put this in, and none of them are helpful. You need to tell me what the freaking meaning is. I don't. They often work terrible and dire distress. Oh, it's just a person's name, I guess. Crazy. But round about snorkel person, they often worked terrible and dire distress. And my kinsman wrought vengeance for that feud and crime, as all men know, though the other bought his life with a hard bargain. And war was threatening Heathseen. Heathseen. Yeah, Heathseen, the lord of the Geats. I thought Beowulf was the lord. But then I heard tell that on the morrow one brother, the other, avenged on the slayer with the edge of the sword, whereas Ungethau seeketh out Eofor, a person or a place. The war helmet was shattered, and the ancient of the Swedes fell prone, all sword pale. And well enough the hand kept in mind the feud, and withheld not the deadly blow. And I yielded him back in the warfare the treasures he gave me with the flashing sword, as was granted to me. And he gave me land, and a dwelling, and a pleasant country. And he had no need to seek among the Gifthas, or the Speardanes, or in Sweden a worse warwolf, or to buy one that was worthy. And I would always be before him in the troop, alone in the front of the battle, And so forever will I be striving, whilst this sword endureth, that earlier and later as has often stood me in good stead, since the days when for doughtiness I was a handslayer, to the day Raven, the champion of the hugs? Okay, that's the champion of the hugs. I'm sure that's how it's pronounced. Oh crap, we have ads coming in, so I'm gonna take a break. We're gonna hit those ads, and we will see you afterwards. Thank you. Dean, woot woot, as the kids say. Kids love saying woot woot. That's what I've been told. I've seen it. I had a dream last night that I reached like 954 viewers. It was a really good feeling. And I woke up, started to cry. All right, where were we? Who knows where we were? I'm reading the book and I don't know where we are. Let's see. I was a handslayer to Day Raven, the champion of the hugs. Oh, that's right. We have a champion of hugs in Beowulf. I love that. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what that means. Nor was he fated to bring ornaments. Oh, I thought the activity moved. Nor was he fated to bring ornaments or breast trappings to the Frisian king. But he, the guardian of the standard, he, the atheling, fell on the battlefield all too quickly. Nor was the sword edge his bane, what the battle grip broke the whelmings of his heart and the bones of his body. The battle grip? Now shall my sword edge, my hand and hard weapon, be fighting for the horde. Beowulf, moreover, for the last time spake these boastful words. In many a war I risked my life in the days of my youth, yet still I will seek a feud. I, the old guardian of the people, will work a glorious deed if the wicked Scather cometh out from his earth palace to seek me. His earth palace. Then he saluted, for the last time, each of the warriors, the brave wearers of helmets, the dear companions. I would not carry a sword or weapon against the dragon if I knew how else I might maintain my boast against the monster, as I formerly did against Grendel. The dragon, yeah. What about the dragon? Did I have a question? Yeah, the dragon lives in the Earth Palace, where the treasure is. I mean, the dragon's got a crap load of treasure. I'm willing to call that a palace. Palace gots the gold. But in this conflict, I expect the hot battle fire, both breath and poison. Therefore, I have both shield and byrnie. That's chainmail. I will not flee from the war. So like he's wearing he had a metal shield made, so he's got a metal shield, and he has chainmail of metal wrapping his body. Again, he's going to be fighting a fiery beast, and he doesn't want to take, insulated equipment. He just wants to wear very high conducting energy. Yeah, so yeah, he's fine. Yeah, he's fine. You know what the problem is? They hadn't invented science yet, so it doesn't apply to the situation. Yes. Where the hell was I? I will not flee from the warder of the barrow to a foot space. Okay. But it shall be with me at the wall of the barrow as Weird shall direct, who created all men. That wasn't a question. I am strong in soul, so that I will refrain from boasting against the war flyer. Await ye on the barrow guarded by the byrnies. O ye warriors in armor, and see which of us two will better survive his wounds after the battle rush. This is no journey for you, nor fitting for any man, save only for me, that he should share a conflict with the monster and do deeds worthy of an earl. Except the earls aren't doing that. I will gain possession of the gold by my courage, or battle, and deadly evil shall take away your lord. Then the strong warrior, hard under helm. It's like hard-headed. That must be hard-headed, right? Arose beside his shield and carried his shirt of mail under the rocky cliffs and trusted in the strength of himself alone. Nor was that a coward's journey. Then Beowulf, possessed of manly virtues, who had escaped in many a conflict and crashing of battle when men encountered on foot, saw standing by the wall of the barrow an arch of rock, and a stream broke out thence from the barrow, and the whelming of that river was hot with battle fires. Nor could he is that like magma or the dragons breathing fire out the door? Nor could he survive any while near to the horde unburnt because of the flame of the dragon. Then, in a fury, the prince of the Wetter Geats led a torrent of words and escaped from his breast, and the stout-hearted one stormed. The sentence is meaningless, and his war-clear voice resounded under the hoar cliffs. And hatred was stirred, for the guardian of the horde recognized well the voice of Beowulf, which, according to the story so far, has he met Beowulf yet? I don't think so. How would you recognize his name? Oh, sorry, his voice. Maybe his name if you hung out in the taverns. And that was no time to be seeking friendship. I beg to differ. Actually, this is the perfect time to seek friendship. You can have a diplomatic relationship with very rich dragons, I've been told. And the breath of the monster and the hot battle sweat came forth from the rock at the first, and the earth resounded. The warrior, the lord of the Geats, in case we forgot, raised his shield under the barrow against the terrible sprite. I guess sprite is a catch-all term for all the bad guys. Monstrous bad guys, I guess, really kind of what that probably means. Now the heart of the dragon was stirred up to seek the conflict. The good war king, crazy phrase, had formally drawn his sword, the ancient heirloom, not slow of edge. And each of them who intended evil was a terror the one to the other. And the stern-minded one, he, the prince of friendly rulers, stood by his steep shield, and he and the dragon fell quickly together. Beowulf waited warily, all in his war gear. Then the flaming monster bent as he charged, hastening to his doom. The shield, well-protected life and body of the famous warrior for a lesser while than he had I skipped lines, Where was I? The shield, well-protected life and body of the famous warrior for a lesser while than he had wielded if he was to be wielding victory in that contest on the first day. Okay, I didn't skip a line. That just literally didn't, flow very well. But Weird had not so fated it. I guess Weird must be a director of fate. Is Weird like a god? Because if it was fate, it would just say fate. But fate had not fated it. Wouldn't. So maybe Weird is fate, and it's just a way of describing how fate works. Weird is the goddesses. Oh, okay. It's literally like WEIRD in this story. But yeah, okay, sure. That makes sense. So it kind of is like the agents, like some sort of artificial agency that controls fate, in a sense. All right. But Weird had not so fated it, and the lord of the Geats uplifted his hand and struck at the horribly bright one, heavy with heirlooms, so that the edge, stained with blood, gave way on the bone and bit in less strongly than its master had need of when pressed by the business. Then, after the battle's swing, the guardian of the barrow was rough-minded and cast forth slaughter fire. Battle flames flashed far and wide, and the son of the Geats could not boast a victory in the conflict. The sword had failed him, naked in the battle as was unfitting for so well-tempered a steel. And it was not easy for the famous son of XXXII to give up possession of the bottom of the sea. which you're not in, and that he should against his will dwell in some place far otherwhere. Otherwhere. It's not otherwise, it's otherwhere. As must each man let go of these fleeting days sooner or later. And not long after this Beowulf and the monster met together. Oh, that's the end of the sentence. The guardian of the hoard took a good heart, and smoke was fuming in his breast, and fierce were his sufferings as the flames embraced him, he who before had ruled over the folk. Nor at all in a troop did his hand comrades stand round him, that warrior of eightlings showing courage in the battle, but they fled into a wood their lives to be saving. And the mind of one of them was surging with sorrows, for to him whose thoughts are pure, friendship cannot ever change. Just like randomly shift subjects. Chapter 36. Wiglaf was he called, he who was the son of Weohstan, the beloved shield warrior, the prince of the Danes and the kinsman of Aelfhere. He saw his lord suffering, burning pain under his visor, when he called to mind the favor that he, Beowulf, had bestowed upon him in days of yore, the costly dwelling of, oh dear lord, the Waegmundings, and all the folk rights which his father had possessed. Then he could not restrain himself, but gripped the shield with his hand, the yellow wood, and drew forth the old sword which is known among men as the heirloom of Eanmund, the son of Othere. I'm gonna laugh every time I see the name. Oh, there. And in the striving, Weohstan was Banesman by the edge of the sword to that friendless exile, and bore away to his kinsman the brown-hued helmet, the ringed brynie, and the old giant's sword that Onela had given him, the war weeds of his comrade, and the well-wrought armor for fighting. Nor did he speak of the feud, though he slew his brother's son. Lovely. And he held possession of the treasures many years, both the sword and the byrnie, the chainmail, until such time his son should hold the earlship as his father had done. And he gave to the Geats a countless number of each kind of war weeds, when he in old age passed away from this life on the outward journey. That was the first time for the young champion that he went into the war rush with his noble lord. Nor did his mind melt within him, nor did the heirloom of his kinsmen at the war tide. And the dragon discovered it when they two came together. All of that was to introduce one character who has shown up for the first time and will be the sidekick of Beowulf in his dire moment of need. Yep. And Bob showed up. There we go. We're done. We can move on now. Wiglaf spake many fitting words, oh no, and said to his comrades, for his mind was sad within him. Yeah, you don't know why Bob is important. It's called, like there are other ways to do that don't make Sid have migraine. I remember the time when we partook of the mead, and promised our liege lord in the beer hall, he who gave to us rings. It's like, well, you know what's happened here? The guy, the author, was writing the story, and right at the end of Beowulf's life, he's like, you know what I need? I need another character. But he needs to be an important character, so we're going to give him 57 paragraphs to emphasize how important he suddenly is. As I hiccup. I remember the time when we partook of the mead, and promised our liege lord in the beer hall, he who gave to us rings, that we would yield to him war trappings, both helmets and a hand sword, if such need befell him. And he chose us for this warfare, and for this journey of his own free will, and reminded us of glory. And to me he gave these gifts when he counted us good spear warriors and brave helmet bearers. Although our lord This guardian of the people had it in his mind all along to do this brave work for us, for he, most of all men, could do glorious things and desperate deeds of war. And now is the day come that our Lord hath need of our our prowess, and of goodly warriors. Let us then go to the help of our battle lord while it lasts, the grim terror of fire. God knows well of me that I would much rather that the flame should embrace my body together with that of my lord, the giver of gold. How important giving of treasure and gold is in this world. It's such a title. We ever give someone that kind of accolade or title in like in our modern culture, like that would be an insult, right? It's like we despise people like that. The giver of gold is like, really what that means is you're rich. You can give treasure because you have all the treasure. They're the billionaires. Only the name would be very ironic. Nor does it seem to me to be fitting that we should carry shields back to the homestead, except we have first laid low the foe and protected the life of the prince of the Weders. And well I know that his old deserts were not that he alone of the youth of the Geats should suffer grief and sink in the fighting. So both sword and helmet, byrnie and shield shall be common to both of us together. This is actually a long chapter. Then he waded through the slaughter reek, and bore the war helmet to the help of his lord, and uttered a few words. Beloved Beowulf, do thou be doing all things, as thou of yore in the days of thy youth west saying that thou wouldest not allow thy glory to be dimmed, whilst thou wast living. Now thou shalt, the brave in deeds and the resolute and noble, save thy life with all thy might. I come to help thee. After these words came the angry dragon, the terrible and hostile sprite yet once again, and decked in his various hues of whelmings of fire against his enemies, the men that he hated. And the wood of the shield was burnt up with the waves of flame, as you could just soak the wood, and his byrnie could not help the young spear warrior. Yet did the youth bravely advance under the shield of his kinsman, when his own had been destroyed by the flames. Then again the war king bethought him of glory, and struck a mighty blow with his battle sword, so that it fixed itself in his head, forced in by violence. And Aegling, Beowulf's sword, old and grey, that we have not met yet, I'm sure there's going to be a story soon for that, broke in pieces and failed in the contest. It was not given to him that sharp edges of swords should help him in battle. His hand was too strong, so that it overtaxed every sword, as I have been told by the force of its swing, whenever he carried into battle a wondrous hand weapon, and he was no wise the better for a sword. Then, for the third time, the scather of the people, the terrible fire dragon, was mindful of feuds, and he rushed. And he rushed on the brave man when he saw that he had room, all hot and battle grim, and surrounded his neck with bitter bones, and he was all bebloodied. Over with lifeblood, and the sweat welled up in waves. How can you surround someone's neck with bitter bones? Is that like an attack somehow? And he rushed on the brave man when he saw that he had room. So like he doesn't have a sword, so I have room to attack maybe. All hot and battle grim. Excitable? Like perhaps over enthusiastic maybe. And surrounded his neck with bitter bones. Maybe he's grabbing his throat with his claws or something. It's very confusing. Chapter 37. Yes, 37. Because that was 36. I'm scrolling up to double check this 36. That doesn't make any sense. Then I heard tell that the Earl of the King of the People showed in his time of need unfailing courage in helping him with craft and keenness, as was fitting for him to do. He paid no heed to the head of the dragon, but the brave man's hand was being burnt when he helped his kinsman. But that warrior in arms struck the hostile sprite somewhat lower in his body, so that his shining and gold-plated sword sank into his body, and the fire proceeding therefrom began to abate. Don't use gold on your swords, everybody, just FYI. Then the good King Beowulf got possession of his wits again, and drew his bitter and battle-sharp short sword that he bore on his shield. And the king of the Geats cut asunder the dragon in the midst of his body. Start with the short sword, I guess. And the fiend fell prone. Courage had driven out his life, and they two together had killed him, noble comrades in arms. And thus should a man who is a thane always be helping his lord at his need. So this is a political message. And that was the very last victory achieved by the prince during his life work. So pre-retirement, I think, is what life work means, right? So when you work during your life. Yeah, that must be it. Then the wound which the earth dragon had formerly dealt him began to burn and to swell, and he soon discovered that the baleful venom was seething in his breast, the internal poison. Then the young noble looked on the giant's work as he sat on a seat musing by the cliff wall, how arches of rock firmly on columns held the eternal earth house within. Then the most noble thane refreshed his blood-stained and famous lord, his dear and friendly prince, with water with his own hands, and loosened the helmet for the battle-sated warrior. And Beowulf spake over his deathly pitiful wound, for well he knew that he had enjoyed the days while of his earthly joy. For well he knew he had enjoyed the days while of his earthly joy. Okay, he enjoyed his days while he was on earth. Yes. And the number of his days was all departed, and death was coming very near. Now, said Beowulf, I would have given battle weeds to my son if any heir had been given to me of my body. I held sway over these peoples 50 years, and there was no folk king of those who sat round about who dared to greet me with swords, or oppress with terror. At home have I bided my appointed time, and well I held my own. Nor did I seek out cunning feuds, nor did I swear many unrighteous oaths. And I, sick of my life wounds, can have joy of all this. For the wielder of men cannot reproach me with murder of kinsmen, when my life shall pass forth from my body. Now do thou, beloved Wiglaf, go quickly and look on the hoard under the whorestone, now that the dragon layeth prone and asleep, sorely wounded and bereft of his treasure. And do thou make good speed, that I may look upon the ancient gold treasures, and yearly be feasting mine eyes upon the bright and cunning jewels, so that thereby, after gazing on that wealth of treasure, I may the more easily give up my life and my lordship over the people whom I have ruled so long. Literally what she said in overly sarcastic productions. He just wanted to see gold before he died. These people are crazy. Chapter 38. Then straightway I heard tell of how the son of Wheostan, after these words had been spoken, obeyed the behest of his lord, who was sick of his wounds, and carried the ringnet and the coat of mail adorned under the roof of the barrow. Yeah, did it help you to understand the reading? I mean, her point of view is well expressed, but it's pretty obvious. He wants to see the wealth of treasure so he may more easily give up life and lordship over people. It's like, just like, Kind of make sure he stays alive long enough for the treasure. That's been a thing through this whole story, right? It's so apparent that the characters in this story, I don't know how accurate this is to the period, are all about gold and treasure. And I guess getting drunk in the mead hall, right? That's possibly a thing too, I suppose. But I kind of find it sad. It's like there's more to life than killing people, drinking alcohol, and looking at gold things. He had 50 years to have a family. He has no heirs. Like, to most people, that is incredibly tragic. Even I want, like, enough family to be able to, like, if I'm in a political power like that, the fact that you never got married kind of blows my mind. What is it like? All the stories, especially like fantasy fiction, medieval period stuff, like if you are a king or a prince, you are expected to have an heir. If you don't, there are problems. So that is a little bit of a radical departure from this theme, but this author may not understand the culture, the context that I have. So fair, whatever. But like in the context of what's happening to the characters, Beowulf comes across as a very lonely and shallow character. He's very much the braggart and very powerful and strong, but that's all his life is. There's no substance there. And yeah, that's me judging that character from my point of view and my experiences in life and with my value system. So take that as it is. Take that as how that works. Let's see. And as Wiglaf, exulting in victory, came by the seat, he saw many gems shining and shaped like the sun, and gleaming gold all laying on the ground, and wondrous decorations on the wall. And he saw too the den of the dragon, the ancient twilight flyer, the flagons standing there, and vessels of men of days long gone by, no longer polished, but shorn of adornment. And there also was many a helmet, ancient and rusty, and many arm rings cunningly twisted. The possession of treasure and of gold on the earth may easily make proud all of mankind. Let him hide it who will. Likewise, he saw all gilded banner laying high over the hoard, that the greatest of wondrous handiwork, and all woven by the skill of human hands. And therefrom went forth a ray of light, so that he could see the floor of the cave, and look carefully at the jewels. And there was no sign of the dragon, for the sword edge had carried him off. In case anyone forgot, the dragon was killed prior to, coming into this room. Just in case, it was a while ago, I understand. It may be a little uncertainty there. So just PSA. Then I heard tell how in that barrow one at his own doom plundered the hoard, that hold work of giants, and bore away on his arms both cups and dishes. And the banner also he took, that brightest of beacons. Beowulf's sword, with its iron edge, had formerly injured him, who had been the protector of these treasures for a long time, and had waged fierce flame terror because of the hoard fiercely welling in the midnight hour until he was killed. The messenger was in haste, and eager for the return journey, and laden with jewels, and curiosity tormented him as to whether he would find the bold-minded prince of the Geats alive on the battlefield, and bereft of strength where before he had left him. Then he with the treasures found the glorious lord, his own dear master, at the last gasp, and all stained with blood. And he began to throw water upon him, until the power of speech brake through his mind, and Beowulf spake, and with sorrow he looked upon the hoard. Oh no, I can't spend it, damn it. I would utter words of thanks to the Lord and wondrous King, to the eternal God, for the treasures which now I am looking upon, that I have managed to obtain them for my dear people before my death day. Now that I have, in exchange for this hoard of treasure, sold my life in my old age and laid it down, do thou still be helping the people in their need, for I may no longer be lingering here. Do thou bid the famous warriors erect a burial mound after the burning of the funeral pyre at the edge of the sea, which shall tower aloft on whales' nests, as a memorial for my people. And so the seafarers shall call it the Hill of Beowulf, even those who drive the high ships from afar through the midst of the flood. Then he, bold prince, doffed from his neck the golden ring, and he gave it to his thane, to the young spear warrior, the gold-adorned helmet, the ring, and the byrnie, and bade him enjoy it well. Thou, O Wiglaf, he said, art the last heir of our race, of that of the Waegmundings. The Waegmundings, Weird has swept away all my kinsmen to their fated doom, all the earls in their strength, and I shall follow after them. Now that was the very last word of the old warrior's breast thoughts. Breast thoughts. Ere he chose the funeral pyre, the hot wave whelmings, and his soul went forth from his breast to be seeking the doom of the true fast ones. Chapter 39. It couldn't have ended there, huh? Then had it sorrowfully come to pass for the young warrior that he saw his most beloved in a miserable plight on the earth at his life's end. What's this? Things you need to get off your chest to have a clear conscience. I see. Breast thoughts. Yes. We have a champion of hugs, and we have breast thoughts. And here I was, thinking the story of Beowulf would give me nothing. Likewise, the terrible dragon, his slayer, lay there bereft of life and pressed sore by ruin. And the coiled dragon could no longer wield the hoard of rings, but the iron edges of the sword, well tempered and battle gashed, the hammer's leavings, had carried him off, so that the wide flyer, stilled because of his wounds, fell to the earth near to the hoard hall. And no more in playful wise at the midnight hour did he drift through the air. This dragon, proud in his gainings of treasure, showed not his face, but was fallen to the earth because of the handiwork of the battle warrior. Told us 3 times that the dragon was dead. Good job, story. And as I have heard, it would have profited but few of the mighty men, even though they were doughty in deeds of all kinds, though they should rush forth against the flaming breath of the poisonous scather, even to the very disturbing of the ring hall with their hands, if they should have found the guardian thereof awake and dwelling in the cliff cave. Then Beowulf's share of lordly treasure was paid for by his death, and both he and the dragon had come to an end of their fleeting days. But did they kill the dragon? It's uncertain, is it? We need to start over again from the top. And not long after that, the laggards in battle, those cowardly treaty breakers, 10 of them together, came back from the woodlands. They who erewhile had dreaded the play of javelins when their lord had sore need of their help. But they were filled with shame, and carried their shields and battle weeds to where the old prince was laying. And they looked on Wiglaf. He, the foot warrior, sat aweary near the shoulders of his lord, and sought to rouse him by sprinkling water upon him. But he succeeded not at all. Nor could he, though he wished it ever so much, keep life from the chieftain, or avert a whit the will of the wielder of all things. Every man's fate was decided by the act of God, as is still the case. Then was a grim answer easily given by the young man to these who erewhile had lost their courage. Wiglaf spake, he, the son of Weohstan, the sad-hearted. He who will speak truth may say that the Lord and Master who gave you gifts and warlike trappings in which ye are now standing, when he very often gave on the ale bench to them who sat in the hall, both helmet and bairnie, to the prince to his thanes, as he could find any of you most noble far or near, that he wholly wrongly bestowed upon you war trappings when war befell him. The king of the folk needed not indeed to boast of his army comrades, yet God, the wielder of victory, granted to him that alone he avenged himself with the edge of the sword when he had need of strength. And but a little life protection could I give him in the battle, yet I sought to help him beyond my strength. The dragon was by so much the weaker when I struck with him. The dragon was by so much the weaker when I struck with my sword, that deadly foe. And less fiercely the fire surged forth from his head. Too few were the defenders thronged around their lord when his fated hour came. And now shall the receiving of treasures and the gift of swords and all joy of home and hope cease forever to men of your kin. And every man of you of the tribe must wander empty of land rights, since noble men will learn far and wide of your flight and inglorious deed. Death would be better for earls than a life of reproach. Yeah, that's definitely what's going to happen here. 10-1, and you're definitely going to not lose. Yep. Okay, see, that was 39, so, okay. So L is 50, so XL is going to be 40. Yes. I hate Roman numerals. Chapter 40. Then he bade them announce that battle work as the entrenchment up over the sea cliff where that troop of earls sat sorrowful in soul through the morning long day, holding their shields and in expectation of the end of the day and the return of the dear man. And he who rode to and fro o'er the headland was little sparing of fresh tidings, but said to all who were sitting there, now is the joy giver of the people of the Geats fast on his deathbed, and by the deed of the dragon he inhabits the place of rest gained by a violent death. And by his side layeth the enemy of his life, sick of his dagger wounds. XL is 40 or extra large. Yeah, it's one of those two. Nor could he inflict with the sword any wound on that monster. Wiglaf sits over Beowulf, he the son of Weohstan, the earl over the other one who is dead, and reverently keeps ward over the loathed and his beloved. But there is an expectation of a time of war to the people, since to Franks and Frisians the fall of the king has become widely known. The hard strife was shapen against the Hugs. It's probably Hugues. The hard strife was shapen against the Hugs, when Heliac came with a fleet into the Frisian lands, where the Hetware, there's probably a better way to say that, the Hetwari, I'm going to say the Hetwari, where the Hetwari overcame him in battle, and by their great strength and courage brought it to pass that the shield warrior should stoop. He fell in the troop. Nor did the prince give jeweled armor to the doughty ones. Random. The mercy of the Mirwing was not always shown to us. Nor do I expect aught of peace or good faith from the Swedish people. But it was well known that Ongithau, bereft of Haithsen, the son of Hrethel, the life over against Ravenswood, when because of pride the warlike Swedes first sought out the people of the Geats. Soon Oginthau, the wise father of Onthere, of Othere, his father of Othere, every time, that's what I'm going to say, the ancient and terrible gave him, the ancient and terrible gave him Haithsin a return blow, destroyed the Sea Kings, and rescued his bride, Queen Ellen, like the first reasonable name I've seen here. He, the old man, rescued his wife, bereft of gold. The mother, why does it matter if she's bereft of, the mother of Anella and of Othere. Sorry. And then followed up the deadly foe until, with difficulty, they retreated, all lordless, to Ravenswood. And he attacked the remnant with a great army, weary though he was with his wounds, and the live long, and the livelong night he vowed woe upon the wretched troop, and said that on the morrow he would by the edge of the sword slay some, and hang them up on the gallows tree for a sport of the birds. But he came to the sorrowful in soul at the dawn of day, when they heard the horn of Heliac and the blast of his trumpet, when the good man came on the track, faring with the doughty warriors of the people. Chapter 41. And the blood track of both Swedes and Geats, the slaughter rush of warriors, was widely seen how the folk stirred up the feud amongst them. The good man, wise and very sad, went away with his comrades to seek out a stronghold. Earl Angethiau turned away to higher ground, for he, the war-crafty one, had heard of the prowess of Heliac the Proud. He had no trust in his power to resist, or that he would be able to refuse the demands of the seamen, the ocean-farers, or defend the treasure he had taken, the children and the bride. Children and brides are treasure now. Thence afterwards, being old, he sought refuge under the earth wall. Then was the chase given to the people of the Swedes, and the banner of Heliac borne aloft, and they swept over the field of peace when the sons of Hrethel thronged to the entrenchment. It's not very peaceful, is it? And there too was Ungethau, he, the grey-haired king of the people, driven to bay at the edge of the sword, and forced to submit to the sole doom of Eofor. Angrily did Wulf, son of Wainred, smite him with weapon, so that from the swinging blow blood sweat gushed forth in streams under the hair of his head. Ouch. Yet the old Swede was not terrified thereby, but quickly gave back a terrible blow by a worse exchange when the king of the people turned thither, I guess. There's an extra H in there. Not accustomed to that. Nor could Wulf, the bold son of Wainred, give back a blow to the old churl, for Ungethau had formerly cut his helmet in two, so that he, stained with blood, fell prone perforce to the ground. But not yet was he doomed. But he raised himself up, though the wound touched him close. And the hardy thane of Heliac, Eofor. What? Are those not two separate people? Eofor's in brackets. When his brother lay prostrate, caused the broadsword, the old giant sword, to crash through the wall of shields upon the gigantic helmet. Then stooped the king, the shepherd of the people, mortally wounded. And there were many who bound up his kinsmen, and quickly upraised him when room had been made so that they might possess the battlefield, while one warrior was plundering another. One took the iron shield of Ungethau, and his hard-hilted sword, and his helmet, and carried the trappings of the old man to Heliac. And he received the treasures, and fairly he promised reward for the people, and he did as promised. The lord of the Geats, Heliac, son of Hrethel, rewarded with very costly gifts the battle onset of Eofor and Wulf, when he got back to his palace, and bestowed upon each of them 100,000 of land and locked rings. They got 100,000 lands and locked rings. That's a lot, I think. Nor could any man in the world reproach him for that reward, since they had gained glory by fighting, and he gave to Eofor his only daughter, she who graced his homestead, to wed as a favor. And this is the feud and the enmity and hostile strife of men, which I expect the Swedish people will seek to awaken against us when they shall hear we have lost our prince. He who in days of yore held treasure and kingdom against our foes after the fall of heroes, and held in check the fierce Swede, and did what was good for the people and deeds worthy of an earl. Now is it best for us to hasten to look upon our king and bring him who gave us rings to the funeral pyre. Nor shall a part only of the treasure be melted with the proud man, but there is a hoard of wealth, an immense mass of gold bought at a grim cost, for now at the very end of his life he bought for us rings. I didn't my brain's like gold rings, like rings you put in your hands. That's just treasure, right? In D&D, those like magic rings are actually kind of like stupidly high level. And the brands shall devour all the treasures and the flames of the funeral fire, and they shall unfold them. Nor shall an earl carry away any treasure as a memorial, nor shall any maid, all beauteous, wear on her neck ring adornments, but shall go sad of soul and bereft of gold, and often not once only tread an alien land, now that the battle-wise man, Beowulf, has laid aside laughter, the games and the joys of song. And many a morning cold shall the spear in the hand grip be heaved up on high, nor shall there be the sound of harping to awaken the warriors, but the war raven, eager over the doomed ones, shall say many things to the eagle how it fared with him in eating the carrion, while he, with the wolf, plundered the slaughtered. A lot of random, out of left field nonsense there. Thus then was the brave warrior reciting loathly spells, and he lied not at all in weird or word. And the troop rose up together, and all unblithely went under eagles' nests to look on the wonder, and tears were welling. Then they found him on the sand in his last resting place, and bereft of soul, who had given him rings in days gone by, and then had the last day drawn to its close. For the good man Beowulf, the warrior king, the lord of the Weathergoths, had died a wondrous death. Yes, we know. We read it a little while ago. But before this, they had seen a more marvelous sight. The dragon on the sea plain, the loathsome one laying right opposite. And there was the fire dragon, grimly terrible, and scorched with fire, and he was 50 feet in length as he lay there stretched out. He had joy in the air a while by night, but afterwards he went down to visit his den. But now he was the prisoner of death, and had enjoyed his last of earth cares. And by him stood drinking cups and flagons, and dishes were laying there, and a costly sword, all rusty and eaten through as though they had rested 1,000 winters in the bosom of the earth. And those heirlooms were fashioned so strongly, the gold of former races of men, and all wound round with spells, so that no man could come near that ring hall, unless God only, himself the true king of victories, gave power to open up the hoard to whom he would, for he is the protector of men, even to that man as it seemed good to him. Magic. Maybe use that in the fight. Chapter 42. Then was it quite clear to them that the affair had not prospered with the monster, who had bidden ornaments within the cave under the cliff. The guardian thereof had slain some few in former days. Then had the feud been wrathfully avenged. And it is a mystery anywhere when a valiant earl reaches the end of his destiny, when a man may no longer with his kinsmen dwell in the mead hall. And thus was it with Beowulf, when he sought out the guardian of the cavern and his cunning crafts. And he himself knew not how his departure from this world would come about, And thus famous chieftains uttered deep curses until the day of doom, because they had allowed it to come to pass that the monster should be guilty of such crimes, and accursed and fast with hell bands, as he was, tormented with plagues that he should plunder the plain. He, Beowulf, was not greedy of gold, bullshit, and had more readily in former days seen the favor of God. Sure. Wiglaf spake, the son of Weohstan. I definitely actually forgot that. Often shall many an earl of his own only will suffer misery. Sorry. Often shall many an earl of his own only will suffer misery. As is our fate. Okay, sure, that's your fate. Sure. Nor could we teach the dear lord and shepherd of the kingdom any wisdom so that he would fail to be meeting the keeper of the gold treasures, the dragon, or to let him stay where he had been long time dwelling in his cavern until the world's end. But he held to his high destiny. Now the hoard is seen by us, grimly got hold of, and at too great a cost was it yielded to the king of the people whom he enticed to that conflict. Actually, he didn't entice anyone to that conflict. He was stolen from, and then you went and attacked him. I was within the cavern, and looked upon all the hoard, the decoration of the palace, when by no means pleasantly room was made for me, and a faring was granted to me and under the sea cliff. And in much haste I took a very great burden of hoard treasures in my hand, and bore it forth hither to my king. He was still alive, wise and witting well. And he, the ancient, uttered many words in sadness, and bade me greet you, and commanded that ye should build after death of your friend a high grave mound in the place of the funeral pyre, a great and famous monument, for he himself was the most worshipful of men throughout the earth, while he was enjoying the wealth of his city. Let us now go and see and seek yet once again the heap of treasures, the wonder under the cliff. I will direct you so that ye may look at close quarters upon the rings and the wealth of gold. Let the buyer. It's B-I-E-R. I feel like that's spelled wrong. Be quickly made ready when we come forth again. And then let us carry the dear man, our lord, when he shall enjoy the protection of the ruler of all things. Then the son of Weohstan, the battle-dear warrior, ordered that commandment should be given to many a hero and householder, that they should bring the wood for the funeral pyre from far, a city known well for selling wood. They, the folk leaders, to where the good man lay dead. Now the war flame shall wax, and the fire shall eat up the strong chief among warriors, him who often endured the iron shower, when the storm of arrows, strongly impelled, shot over the shield wall, and the shaft did good service, and all eager with its feather, fear followed and aided the barb. Then the proud son of Weohstan summoned from the troop the thanes of the king, 7 of them together, and the very best of them. And he, the 8th, went under the hostile roof. And one of the warriors carried in his hand a torch which went on in front, for light. Yeah. And no wise was it allotted who should plunder that hoard, since they saw some part unguarded remaining in the hall, and laying there fleeting. And little did any man mourn, when fully heartily they carried forth the costly treasures. Oh, really sad to see Beowulf. Hey, shit, gold, let's go, bros. We're happy now. Then they shoved the dragon, the worm, over the cliff wall, and let the wave take him, and the flood embrace that guardian of the treasures. Then the twisted golden ornaments were loaded on a wagon, an immense number of them, and the noble atheling, the hoar battle warrior, was carried to Whale's Nest. Chapter 43. Then the people of the Geats got ready the mighty funeral pyre, and hung it round with helmets and battle shields, and bright byrnies as he had asked. And in the midst they lay the famous prince, and they lamented the hero, their dear lord. Then the warriors began to stir up the greatest of bale fires on the cliffside, and the reek of the wood smoke went up swart. It's literally a swart over the flame, which was resounding, and his roar mingled with weeping and the tumult of winds. Oh, we are having ads soon. Let's stop there and run ads. Yeah, I'll be back. 3 minutes. See you soon. Right. We are actually super nearly done. All right. Let's do this again. Chapter 43. The final chapter. Then the people of the Geats got ready the mighty funeral pyre, and hung it round with helmets and battle shields and bright byrnies as he had asked. And in the midst they lay the famous prince, and they lamented the hero, their dear lord. Then the warriors began to stir up the greatest of bale fires on the cliffside, and the reek of the wood smoke went up swart over the flame, which was resounding, and its roar mingled with weeping, and the tumult of winds was still, until it had broken the body, all hot into the heart, and unhappy in their thinkings, with minds full of care, they proclaimed the death of their lord, likewise a sorrowful song, the bride. And heaven swallowed up the smoke. Then on the cliff slopes the people of the Geats erected a mound, very high and very broad, that it might be beholden from afar by the wayfarers, and they set up the beacon of the mighty in battle in 10 days. And the leavings of the funeral fire they surrounded with a wall, so that very proud men might find it to be most worthy of reverence. And they did on the borrow rings and necklaces, and all such adornments as formerly warlike men had taken of the hoard. And they allowed the earth to hold the treasures of earls, the gold on the ground, where it still is to be found, as useless to men as it always was. Then the battle-dear men rode round about the mound. The children of the aethelings, 12 of them, there were in all, and would be uttering their sorrows, and lamenting their king, and reciting a dirge, and speaking of their champion. And they talked of his earlship, and of his brave works, and deemed them doughty, as is fitting that a man should praise his lord in words, and cherish him in his heart, when he shall have gone forth from the fleeting body. So the people of the Geats lamented over the fall of their lord, his hearth companions, and said that he was a world king, in the mildest and gentlest of men, the most tender to his people, and the most eager for their praise. Thus ends the story of Beowulf. There's a lot of details hereafter that are all about, like, here's a million translations and appendices and general notes in the poem. A lot of stories to this at the end. Credits and ways to understand things. My final thoughts on this story is, I think this has value in that it has inspired a lot of popular fiction that I have enjoyed. Aside from that, the story itself this is the translation too in modern prose. I kind of understand this was originally a poem, like an epic poem, and I shudder inside at the idea of trying to follow that one along. I am grateful for the translation. I would not understand it otherwise. This story, as it is, was still a difficult read. I very much am not a fan of the format, and that may very well be a product of the time and the age that I was born in and grew up. There is so much erroneous information. It is so full of fluff. Like I said, like I was complaining before, right? Like it really, in some parts, is kind of like a high school student being told to write an essay that's 30 pages long, but only has like 10 pages of information and just needs to fill it out. Yeah, this has been the hardest one you've sent me. This is probably the hardest one to read. I have the most to complain about. There are other ones like in Lord of the Flies. We had the problem with like we didn't know who was saying what, but it wasn't difficult to read and or understand. We mostly understood that one. This one, there's like, even though these chapters are really short, there's a lot of short chapters. They almost every single paragraph or every single chapter, which is every 2 or 3 paragraphs, has a sentence that's like out of left field and just doesn't make sense. It becomes a word salad when trying to interpret it with the modern human English brain. I guess that's the caveat there, right? There are a lot of stories from the public domain that we've been reading have this problem with like commas. There are so many commas. There's a side note, there's a side note, there's a side note. I think Frankenstein did this a lot. Yeah, super a lot. In today's grammar, right, the way we do grammar now, you have a sentence, right, which is about making a point. If there is an additional piece of information that helps provide context, you can throw a comma in there, make that little side note, throw another comma in there, continue and finish the sentence. That's how that works. There are other mechanisms for breaking up a sentence, which is, the semicolon, which is often just a different, something. Now, I've only taken like one English course, full disclosure, and it was like one designed for a computer scientist course, for computer science course. But I learned there that like the reality is semicolons are probably supposed to be used more often than commas. They really break up a sentence that is still somehow connected to itself. But the usage of these commas, and in Frankenstein there's a lot of dashes as well for some stupid reason, which kind of I feel like should have been brackets. This story used brackets, right, to add in even more information, or like just to clarify I'm talking about Beowulf, or like, oh yeah, the sword was sharp, and just little comments like that. I don't even care too much about the usage of brackets in this story, but this story does have a problem with rambling and fluff, and just word salad. Rambling, fluff, and word salad. Those are my major complaints about this story. Thank you very much for Wolfgar. He was an okay character in the Forgotten Realms stories surrounding Dritz the Dark Elf, the Drow, which was far more entertaining to read. Yeah. Beowulf sucks. And the overvaluing of treasure in this story grinds my gears. It kind of triggers me a little bit. But I get it. We all like treasure, I suppose. And when I play video games, I'm like, yeah, screw morals and ethics. Give me the gold, give me the loot. And that's appropriate. It's a video game. And this is just a story. Cool. With that, we're going to finish. We're going to stop talking about Beowulf. I have to pick another story. My wife has delivered another list of stories I have to go over, so I'll have to sort of evaluate all of that before too long. I'll need to make another thumbnail. And we can move on to the next story. For tonight, we still have like we're only like halfway done our stream. I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to go play Helldivers. Yeesh. We're going to play Helldivers in a few minutes. We're going to break the recording in 2, so I don't go insane doing video editing. And there you go. Actually, no, I don't need to break up the video recording. DaVinci Resolve is so easy. It's very flexible that way. Yeah, let's just go over it. Wait. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Before you leave, don't forget to return your reading material to the bookshelves and be kind to one another.